The Voidwalker's Journey. Chapter 1, Departure. The Meridian hummed with anticipation as Commander Ellichin stood on the observation deck, watching Earth shrink to a pale blue dot against the infinite black. After 3 years of preparation, humanity's most ambitious deep space exploration mission was finally underway. Final systems check complete, announced Dr. Marcus Webb, the ship's chief scientist, his weathered face illuminated by holographic displays. All departments report ready for quantum jump initialization. Ella nodded, her dark eyes reflecting the starlight streaming through the reinforced viewport. At 32, she was the youngest commander ever chosen to lead an interstellar expedition, but her record spoke for itself: 2 successful missions to Europa and Titan, plus extensive experience with alien contact protocols. The Meridian represented the pinnacle of human engineering, a kilometer-long vessel powered by a revolutionary quantum drive that could fold spacetime itself. Her crew of 47 included xenobiologists, atmospheric specialists, linguists, and engineers, the best minds Earth could offer. Commander, called Lieutenant Sofia Rodriguez from the navigation console, her fingers dancing across quantum calculations, we have a clear path to Kepler 442b. The fold space corridor is stable. Ella's heart raced. Kepler 442b lay 1,200 light-years away in the constellation Lyra, a potentially habitable world that had tantalized scientists for decades. Long-range spectral analysis suggested an oxygen-rich atmosphere and vast oceans, but they would need to see for themselves. All stations, prepare for quantum fold, Ella commanded, her voice carrying across the bridge. Destination, the Kepler 442 system. Time to fold space, T-minus 60 seconds. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the ship's xenobiologist, gripped her console tightly. Imagine, she whispered to her colleague, we might be the first humans to encounter truly alien life. As the countdown reached 0, reality twisted around them. The stars streaked into brilliant lines, space folded like origami, and the Meridian slipped through dimensions beyond human comprehension. In mere moments, they had traversed distances that light itself would take centuries to cross. When normal space reasserted itself, a golden star blazed before them, and orbiting in its habitable zone was a world of swirling blue and green, their first destination among the stars. Chapter 2, Ocean of Glass. Kepler 442b hung before them like a jewel, its surface a mesmerizing tapestry of crystalline blue oceans and emerald continents. The planet was slightly larger than Earth, with a thicker atmosphere that created spectacular aurora displays across both poles. Atmospheric composition is remarkable, Dr. Webb reported, studying the incoming data streams. 28% oxygen, 65% nitrogen, trace gases including, wait, this can't be right. I'm detecting silicon compounds in aerosol form. Ella leaned over his shoulder. What does that mean? The entire atmosphere is suffused with microscopic crystalline particles. It's like the air itself is made of liquid glass. Their landing party descended through the shimmering atmosphere in the Meridian's atmospheric craft, the Seeker. As they broke through the cloud layer, the landscape below took their breath away. The oceans weren't water, they were composed of a clear, viscous liquid that reflected light like polished crystal. Vast underwater forests of translucent trees swayed in currents of liquid crystal, their branches refracting sunlight into rainbow patterns. Landing zone confirmed, Sophia announced. Touching down on the northern continent's shoreline. The moment they stepped onto the surface, Ella felt the difference. The air was thick and breathable, but each breath tasted faintly metallic, with a sensation like inhaling powdered diamonds. The ground beneath their feet was composed of smooth, naturally formed glass formations that chimed musically when walked upon. Dr. Vasquez immediately began scanning for life signs. I'm picking up complex organic signatures, she said excitedly. But they're unlike anything in our databases. The silicon content might be integral to the biology here. As if summoned by her words, creatures emerged from the crystalline forest. They move like liquid light, their semi-transparent bodies shifting between solid and gaseous states. These beings, which the crew dubbed prismatics, seemed to communicate through modulations of the light they refracted, creating complex color patterns that pulsed through their forms. "They're trying to communicate," whispered Dr. Sarah Kim, the linguistics specialist. "The light patterns have mathematical progressions. Prime numbers, Fibonacci sequences." The largest prismatic approached Ella, its form stabilizing into something vaguely humanoid. When it extended an appendage of crystallized light, Ella carefully reached out to touch it. The contact sent cascades of color through both beings, and suddenly, images flooded Ella's mind, visions of vast crystal cities beneath the liquid seas, of beings who had learned to exist in harmony with their world's unique physics. "They're showing me their civilization," Ella gasped. "It's beautiful. They've built entire cities that exist in both dimensions simultaneously, solid and gaseous, matter and light." The prismatics shared their knowledge freely, revealing how they had evolved from the planet's unique silicon-carbon hybrid chemistry. They had developed technology that worked with light itself, creating art and science that transcended the boundaries between matter and energy. After 3 days of exchange, the crew departed Kepler 442b with their minds expanded and their hearts full. The prismatics had given them a gift, a small crystal that could store and replay light patterns, a key to understanding civilizations that existed beyond conventional matter. Chapter 3, The Garden of Storms. Their next destination lay in the Gliese 667c system, a world that long-range sensors suggested was shrouded in perpetual storms. As the meridian approached Gliese 667cc, the crew understood why. The planet was caught in a complex gravitational dance with 2 other worlds, creating atmospheric conditions of unimaginable violence. Wind speeds are exceeding 400 kilometers per hour across 60% of the surface, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported. But there are stable pockets, areas where the gravitational forces cancel each other out, creating calm zones. These storm eyes dotted the planet's surface like islands of tranquility in an ocean of chaos. When the landing party descended in their reinforced atmospheric craft, they found something extraordinary. The constant electrical activity from the storms had created a unique biosphere. The plants here were living lightning rods, tall and metallic, with root systems that channeled electrical energy through underground networks. These voltaic gardens stretched for hundreds of kilometers, their metallic leaves crackling with continuous electrical discharges that painted the air in shades of blue and purple. "The entire ecosystem is electrochemical," Dr. Vasquez marveled, her instruments detecting life forms that existed as organized electrical patterns. "There are creatures here made entirely of controlled lightning." The inhabitants of this world were the most alien they had yet encountered. The storm dancers, as Ella named them, were beings of pure electrical energy that rode the planet's perpetual tempests. They could only maintain coherent form within the electromagnetic fields generated by the storm systems, appearing as writhing patterns of lightning that somehow possessed consciousness and intent. Communication proved nearly impossible until Dr. Kim realized they could modulate the Seeker's electrical systems to create basic patterns. The storm dancers responded with complex electromagnetic pulses that gradually resolved into mathematical concepts. "They're not trying to communicate with us," Dr. Kim realized. "They're trying to teach us. They want us to understand how consciousness can exist as pure energy." Through painstaking electrical conversations, the crew learned that the storm dancers had once been physical beings like themselves. Over millions of years, they had transcended their biological forms, becoming one with their planet's electrical systems. They existed now as patterns of consciousness within the eternal storms, experiencing existence as pure thought and energy. The storm dancers showed them wonders that defied human understanding, cities of organized lightning that existed within the eye walls of hurricanes, art forms created from controlled electromagnetic chaos, and a form of reproduction where new consciousness patterns were born from the collision of massive storm systems. "They're trying to tell us something important," Ella realized as she watched a particularly complex light show. "About the nature of consciousness itself. They believe that all sufficiently complex systems, biological, mechanical, or electrical, can develop awareness." Before leaving, the storm dancers gifted the crew with a small device that could store and replay electromagnetic patterns. It was a form of art that existed as pure energy, capable of inducing specific emotional and intellectual states in whoever experienced it. Chapter 4, The Singing Forests. The fourth world on their journey orbited a red dwarf star in the Wolf 1061 system. Wolf 1061c appeared to be tidally locked, with one side facing perpetual day and the other eternal night. The Terminator line, the border between light and dark, created a unique environment where the crew made their next remarkable discovery. Atmospheric pressure is 3 times Earth normal, Dr. Webb reported as they descended. High oxygen content, but there's something else. I'm detecting complex acoustic signatures across multiple frequencies. The source of these sounds became apparent the moment they landed. The forests along the Terminator line were alive with music. Every tree, every bush, every blade of grass-like vegetation produced harmonic tones that blended into symphonies of incredible complexity. The planet itself was singing. It's a form of communication, Dr. Kim realized, her recording equipment capturing layers upon layers of acoustic information. But it's more than that. The entire ecosystem is synchronized through sound. The trees here had evolved hollow chambers within their trunks that acted as resonance cavities. As wind and thermal currents moved through the forest, they created natural orchestras. But this wasn't random noise, the patterns were too complex, too purposeful. Their first contact with the planet's inhabitants came through music. The resonants, as they came to be known, were tall, slender beings with multiple vocal chambers that allowed them to produce dozens of simultaneous tones. They communicated through harmony and rhythm, with emotional concepts expressed through major and minor keys, and complex ideas built from intricate musical structures. Dr. Vasquez studied the resonance with fascination. Their entire nervous system is based on acoustic resonance, she explained. They literally think in music. Abstract concepts, memories, even dreams, everything is encoded as harmonic patterns. The resonant civilization was built around acoustic principles. Their cities were designed as massive instruments, with buildings shaped to enhance and focus sound waves. They had developed a form of technology that used controlled acoustic resonance to manipulate matter at the molecular level. They're showing us how to build with sound, marveled Chief Engineer Yuki Tanaka. They can reshape materials using specific frequency combinations. It's like 3D printing, but with acoustic waves instead of light or heat. The most profound discovery came when the resonants shared their understanding of universal harmonics, the idea that all matter in the universe vibrates at specific frequencies, and that by understanding these resonant patterns, one could predict and influence the behavior of everything from subatomic particles to galactic structures. They're suggesting that music isn't just art, Ella realized. It's a fundamental force of nature. They believe the universe itself is a vast symphony, and consciousness is what allows us to hear and participate in it. The resonance gift to the crew was a crystalline tuning fork that could resonate at any frequency. It was both a musical instrument and a scientific tool, capable of revealing the hidden harmonics in any material or energy field. Chapter 5, The Architects of Light. Deep in the TRAPPIST-1 system, 7 worlds danced around a small red star. TRAPPIST-1F had captured the crew's attention with its unusual light signatures, patterns too regular to be natural, suggesting active manipulation of stellar radiation. As they approached the planet, the source of these light patterns became clear. The entire world had been transformed into a vast optical instrument. Crystalline structures kilometers tall focused and redirected the weak light of the red dwarf star, creating a planet-wide network of concentrated solar energy. "It's magnificent," breathed Dr. Webb. "They've turned their entire world into a solar collector. But the engineering required, the scale is beyond anything we've imagined." The inhabitants of this world, the Luminari, had evolved in the dim light of their red dwarf sun. They were tall, ethereal beings with photosynthetic skin that could absorb and process light across a much broader spectrum than anything on Earth. Their eyes had developed to see deep into the infrared, allowing them to navigate by heat signatures and thermal patterns. But more impressive than their biology was their mastery of light itself. The Luminari had spent millennia learning to manipulate photons with the same precision that humans manipulated matter. They could create solid constructs from concentrated light, store information in photonic crystals, and even travel as beings of pure radiance. "They're not using technology as we understand it," Dr. Vasquez observed. They've evolved to become living optical instruments. They can generate, focus, and reshape light through biological processes. The luminary cities were impossible structures of crystallized light, buildings that existed as stable photonic patterns, solid to the touch but capable of being reconfigured at will. Streets paved with captured starlight glowed softly underfoot, and the air itself shimmered with controlled luminescence. Communication with the luminari proved challenging until Dr. Kim realized they expressed concepts through combinations of color, intensity, and polarization. Simple ideas could be conveyed through single hues, while complex philosophical discussions required elaborate displays that painted the sky in cascading patterns of light. "They're trying to explain their understanding of reality," Dr. Kim translated as she watched a particularly complex light show. "They believe that consciousness and light are fundamentally connected. In their cosmology, awareness itself is a form of illumination." The luminari showed the crew wonders that challenged their understanding of physics. They demonstrated how information could be stored in the quantum states of photons, creating libraries of pure light that contained the accumulated knowledge of their civilization. They revealed techniques for traveling at light speed by converting consciousness itself into photonic patterns. "They're offering to teach us," Ella realized as she watched a luminari elder create a three-dimensional sculpture from woven light beams. "But the knowledge they're sharing, it would take us centuries to fully understand." The luminari's gift was a lens crafted from crystallized light, a device that could reveal the photonic patterns underlying all matter and energy. Through it, the crew could see the universe as the luminari did, not as solid objects moving through empty space, but as intricate dances of light and consciousness. Chapter 6: The Memory Keepers. The neutron star system PSRB 1257+12 housed 3 small planets in impossibly close orbits around the ultradense stellar remnant. The intense radiation and gravitational field should have made life impossible, yet PSRB 1257+12b showed clear signs of artificial structures on its surface. "The radiation levels are lethal," Dr. Webb warned as they approached. "But there are shielded areas, geometric patterns that suggest deliberate protection from the neutron star's emissions." The planet's surface was a maze of crystalline formations that channeled and deflected the deadly radiation into safe corridors. Within these protected zones, the crew discovered the most ancient civilization they had yet encountered. The Eternals, as they came to be known, were beings of living metal who had survived the death of their original star. When their sun had collapsed into a neutron star billions of years ago, they had transformed themselves into forms that could endure the extreme conditions, becoming living archives of their lost world. "They're not just survivors," Dr. Vasquez marveled, studying the metallic beings. "They're living museums. Each individual contains the complete memories and experiences of thousands of their ancestors." The Eternals existed as walking libraries, their metallic bodies storing vast amounts of information in quantum crystalline matrices. They had witnessed the birth and death of stars, the rise and fall of countless civilizations, and the slow evolution of the galaxy itself. Communication with the Eternals was overwhelming. They didn't speak so much as download entire experiences directly into the minds of their visitors. The crew found themselves experiencing memories that spanned geological eras, the gradual warming of planets, the first stirrings of life in primordial oceans, the desperate final years before stellar collapse. "They're showing us the deep history of this region of space," Ella gasped, recovering from a particularly intense memory transfer. "Civilizations that existed millions of years before Earth even formed. The patterns of rise and decline, the common threads that connect all intelligent life." The Eternals had developed a unique perspective on existence. Having survived the ultimate catastrophe, the death of their sun, they had learned to think in cosmic timescales. They understood patience in ways that short-lived species could barely comprehend, and they had developed philosophies that embraced both permanence and change. "They're trying to teach us about continuity," Dr. Kim realized. "About the importance of preserving knowledge and memory across cosmic time. They believe that consciousness is the universe's way of remembering itself." The most profound discovery was the Eternals' Great Archive, a planetary-scale memory bank that contained the recorded experiences of dozens of extinct civilizations. They had spent eons collecting and preserving the stories of worlds that no longer existed, becoming the custodians of galactic memory. "We're looking at the history of intelligence in this part of the galaxy," Ella whispered, overwhelmed by the scope of what they were seeing. "Every species that ever achieved consciousness, every world that ever bloomed with life, it's all here." The Eternal's gift to the crew was a memory crystal that contained condensed experiences from 100 different worlds. It was a library of consciousness itself, a way for the crew to understand how intelligence had evolved and expressed itself across vast reaches of space and time. Chapter 7, The Quantum Gardeners. In the system orbiting Proxima Centauri, the crew discovered something that challenged their understanding of life itself. Proxima Centauri B was a tidally locked world with a scorching day side and a frozen night side, but along the Terminator line, something extraordinary was happening. The planet's magnetic field interacted with stellar radiation in ways that created stable quantum phenomena on a macroscopic scale. Entire regions existed in quantum superposition, simultaneously frozen and molten, solid and gaseous, real and potential. "It's impossible," Dr. Webb muttered, staring at his readings. "We're detecting matter that exists in multiple states simultaneously. The quantum effects should collapse at this scale." The inhabitants of this impossible world, the probability weavers, existed as conscious quantum fields. They could manipulate reality at the subatomic level, creating pockets where the normal rules of physics bent to their will. They gardened with quantum states the way humans garden with plants, cultivating probability fields that bloomed into specific realities. "They're not just observing quantum phenomena," Dr. Vasquez realized. "They're conducting them." They can maintain conscious control over quantum superposition states. The probability weavers existed simultaneously across multiple dimensional layers of reality. When the crew encountered them, they appeared as shifting patterns of possibility, beings that flickered between different potential forms, never quite settling on a single state of existence. Communication required learning to think in quantum terms. The probability weavers expressed concepts through controlled probability clouds, showing possible outcomes rather than definitive statements. A simple greeting involved demonstrating all the potential ways the interaction could unfold. "They're trying to teach us that reality is far more fluid than we imagine," Dr. Kim interpreted. In their understanding, consciousness doesn't just observe reality, it actively participates in creating it through the act of observation. The probability weavers had developed technology that worked with quantum uncertainty rather than against it. They could create tools that existed in superposition states, capable of performing multiple functions simultaneously. Their cities phase-shifted between different dimensional configurations, existing as multiple architectural possibilities at once. "They're showing us quantum gardening," Ella marveled, watching a probability weaver tend to a garden where flowers existed as clouds of potential blooms. "They're cultivating probability itself, growing realities from quantum seeds." The most mind-bending aspect of their civilization was their approach to history and future. The probability weavers experienced time as a garden of branching possibilities. They could remember events that hadn't happened yet and could influence past events through careful manipulation of quantum causality. "They're suggesting that consciousness exists outside normal spacetime," Ella realized. That awareness itself is a quantum phenomenon that can influence reality across temporal boundaries. The gift they received from the probability weavers was a quantum resonator that could reveal the probability fields underlying seemingly solid reality. Through it, the crew could see the ghost images of all possible states that matter could exist in, a glimpse into the true quantum nature of existence. Chapter 8, The Symbiotic Collective. The brown dwarf system 2-mass J0523-1403 harbored a rogue planet, a world that had been ejected from its original solar system eons ago and now wandered the cold void between stars. Despite receiving no stellar energy, the planet teemed with life powered by geothermal vents and radioactive decay. Internal heat sources are maintaining liquid water oceans beneath a kilometers-thick ice shell, Dr. Webb reported as they studied the wandering world. But the life signs are unlike anything we've encountered. They're too organized, too interconnected. When they breached the ice shell and descended into the dark oceans below, they discovered a global ecosystem where the boundaries between individual organisms had dissolved entirely. Every creature, from microscopic bacteria to whale-sized leviathans, was connected through symbiotic neural networks that span the entire planet. The Unified, as they came to be called, existed as a single planetary consciousness distributed across billions of individual bodies. Each organism retained its specialized function while contributing to the collective awareness that pervaded the world's oceans. It's not a hive mind, Dr. Vasquez explained, studying the neural connections between creatures. It's something far more sophisticated. Individual consciousness and collective awareness exist simultaneously. Each being is both itself and part of something greater. The crew's first contact with the Unified was overwhelming. The moment they entered the water, bioluminescent organisms began clustering around them, forming complex patterns that pulsed with intentional communication. Gradually, the crew realized they were being incorporated into the planetary consciousness, not absorbed or controlled, but welcomed as new nodes in the vast network. "I can feel them," whispered Dr. Kim, tears streaming down her face as she floated in the warm waters. "All of them. The fear of the small fish, the contentment of the filter feeders, the ancient wisdom of the deep dwellers. It's beautiful." Through the neural network, the crew experienced consciousness from a completely different perspective. Instead of individual minds struggling in isolation, they felt the comfort and security of being part of an integrated whole. Every thought was shared, every emotion distributed, every memory available to all. The Unified had developed a form of distributed intelligence that far exceeded the cognitive capacity of any individual species. They could process information on a planetary scale, performing calculations that would require massive computer networks by channeling the mental capacity of their entire biosphere. "They're trying to show us something about cooperation," Ella realized as she felt the collective consciousness explore concepts too complex for individual minds to grasp. About what intelligence becomes when it transcends the boundaries of self. The most profound aspect of the Unified was their approach to death and birth. When individual organisms died, their memories and experiences were fully integrated into the collective consciousness. When new organisms were born, they carried within them the accumulated wisdom of their entire species. Death was not an ending but a transformation, individual consciousness dissolving into something eternal and shared. "They're asking us a question," Dr. Kim realized. "They want to know if humanity is ready to join something like this. To become part of a galactic consciousness that spans multiple worlds." The gift from the Unified was a living neural interface, a symbiotic organism that could temporarily connect human consciousness to larger collective networks. It was both a communication device and a glimpse into a possible future for human evolution. Chapter 9: The Time Sculptors. In orbit around the pulsar PSR-J 1847-2330, the crew discovered something that challenged every assumption about the relationship between time and consciousness. The massive rotating neutron star created severe gravitational time dilation effects, causing time to flow at different rates across the small system of orbiting debris. On the largest fragment, barely large enough to be called a planet, the crew found beings who had learned to sculpt time itself. The Orc civilization existed simultaneously across multiple temporal frames, their consciousness distributed through past, present, and future. Time moves differently in each region of their world, Dr. Webb reported, his instruments detecting temporal distortions that varied by location. Near the poles, time flows normally. But as you approach the equatorial regions, temporal dilation increases exponentially. The Orcs had adapted to these conditions in the most extraordinary way imaginable. They existed as four-dimensional beings, their consciousness extended through time as well as space. They could experience their entire existence, birth, growth, maturity, and death, as a single, eternal moment. "They're not moving through time," Dr. Vasquez realized, studying the being's unique physiology. "They're existing within time. Their consciousness encompasses their entire temporal existence simultaneously." Communication with the Orcs required learning to think in four dimensions. They expressed concepts through temporal sculptures, carefully constructed sequences of events that created meaning through their patterns across time. A simple greeting might involve a synchronized series of actions that unfolded across several minutes but were perceived by the Chronarchs as a single, instantaneous gesture. "They're trying to teach us that time isn't a river we travel down," Dr. Kim interpreted. "It's an ocean we exist within. Past, present, and future are just different depths of the same temporal medium." The Chronarchs had developed technology that worked with time the way human technology worked with matter and energy. They could create temporal storage devices that preserved moments of time in crystalline matrices, allowing experiences to be revisited with perfect fidelity. They had built temporal telescopes that could observe events across vast reaches of time, seeing the birth and death of galaxies as clearly as humans might watch a sunset. "They're showing us the deep structure of causality," Ella marveled, watching a Chronarch create a temporal artwork that existed as a pattern of cause and effect spanning centuries. "How every action ripples through time, creating consequences that eventually loop back to influence their own origins." The most profound discovery was the Chronarchs' understanding of consciousness itself. They believed that awareness was fundamentally temporal, that consciousness existed not in any single moment but in the relationships between moments, in the flow of experience through time. "They're suggesting that memory and anticipation aren't just mental processes," Ella realized. "They're the actual substance of consciousness. We exist in the connections between past and future." The Chronarch's gift was a temporal crystal that could store and replay sequences of time itself. Through it, the crew could experience moments from the past with perfect clarity, understanding how the present moment was shaped by the intricate web of causality that preceded it. Chapter 10: The Reality Singers. Deep in the void between galaxy clusters, the crew detected an impossible structure, an artificial construct the size of a solar system, built from materials that shouldn't exist according to known physics. As they approached, they realized they were looking at a cosmic musical instrument of unimaginable complexity. The resonance web, as they named it, was composed of filaments of exotic matter stretched across billions of kilometers. When cosmic radiation and gravitational waves passed through these filaments, they produced vibrations that could be heard across dimensional boundaries. The builders of this impossible instrument were the reality singers, beings who existed primarily as patterns of organized information within the quantum foam of spacetime itself. They had transcended physical existence entirely, becoming living songs that could reshape reality through harmonic resonance. "They're not using technology to build," Dr. Webb realized, studying the exotic matter filaments. "They're using music. The entire structure is held together by acoustic resonance operating at quantum levels." The reality singers communicated through songs that altered the fundamental constants of physics within localized regions of space. They could make gravity stronger or weaker, change the speed of light, or modify the relationships between matter and energy, all through carefully composed harmonic sequences. "It's cosmic music theory," Dr. Kim marveled, her instruments detecting melodies that existed in 11 dimensions simultaneously. "They've discovered that reality itself has a musical structure, and they've learned to compose with the laws of physics." The crew's first encounter with a reality singer was overwhelming. The being appeared as a visible song, a pattern of organized energy that painted itself across spacetime in cascades of impossible color and sound. When it sang, local reality restructured itself according to the melody's harmonic logic. "They're trying to teach us about the deep music of existence," Ella realized as she watched stars rearrange themselves into new constellations in response to the singer's song. "They believe the universe is a vast symphony, and consciousness is what allows beings to hear and participate in the cosmic composition." The reality singers had discovered that all of existence, from subatomic particles to galactic superclusters, vibrated according to mathematical harmonies that could be expressed as music. By learning to sing in harmony with these cosmic frequencies, they could influence reality at the most fundamental levels. "They're composers of existence itself," Dr. Vasquez breathed, watching a reality singer create a small solar system through a particularly complex aria. "They're writing new verses in the song of creation." The most profound aspect of the reality singer's philosophy was their understanding of consciousness as cosmic music. They believed that every aware being was a unique instrument in the universal orchestra, capable of adding their own voice to the ongoing composition of reality. They're asking us to join the cosmic choir, Ella realized as multiple reality singers began harmonizing around the meridian. They want us to learn to sing reality into new forms. The gift from the reality singers was a crystalline tuning fork that resonated at the frequency of consciousness itself. Through it, the crew could hear the underlying music that held reality together, the cosmic symphony that sang matter into existence and awareness into being. Chapter 11, The Probability Farmers. At the edge of known space, in a region where dark matter concentrations created unusual gravitational effects, the crew discovered a civilization that had learned to cultivate possibility itself. The world of Paradox Prime existed in a constant state of quantum flux, where multiple versions of reality overlapped and intermingled. The possibility farmers, as they came to be known, were beings who existed simultaneously across multiple parallel dimensions. They had learned to plant seeds of potential in the quantum foam and harvest specific realities from the infinite field of what might be. Their entire world exists in quantum superposition, Dr. Webb reported, his instruments struggling to make sense of readings that changed depending on how they were observed. Every measurement we take collapses different aspects of their reality into specific states. The landscape of Paradox Prime was a shifting kaleidoscope of potential geographies. Mountains existed and didn't exist simultaneously, rivers flowed backward and forward through time, and forests grew into multiple possible configurations based on the observer's expectations. They're not just farming crops, Dr. Vasquez realized, studying the being's unique relationship with their environment. They're farming reality itself. They plant possibilities and harvest specific outcomes from the quantum field. The possibility farmers had developed a form of agriculture that worked with quantum mechanics rather than traditional biology. They would plant quantum seeds, carefully prepared probability states, in specially cultivated fields of organized uncertainty. Through patient tending and selective observation, they could grow these seeds into specific desired realities. They're showing us quantum gardening on a planetary scale, Ella marveled, watching a farmer coax a grove of possibility trees into manifesting fruit that existed in several dimensions simultaneously. They've learned to cultivate the fundamental building blocks of reality itself. Communication with the possibility farmers required learning to think in terms of potential rather than actuality. They spoke in probability clouds, expressing concepts through demonstrated possibilities rather than definitive statements. A simple conversation might involve exploring dozens of potential dialogue trees simultaneously. They're trying to teach us that choice is the fundamental force of creation, Dr. Kim interpreted. Every decision, every observation, every act of consciousness shapes reality by collapsing infinite possibilities into specific actualities. The most profound aspect of their civilization was their understanding of time and causality. The possibility farmers experienced all potential futures as equally real, existing in a state of temporal superposition where every possible choice and outcome coexisted until observation collapsed them into singular timelines. They're showing us that free will isn't just an illusion or a reality, Ella realized. It's the mechanism by which consciousness participates in the ongoing creation of the universe. The possibility farmer's gift was a quantum seed that could be planted in any probability field. When carefully tended with focused consciousness, it would grow into whatever reality the gardener most needed, a tool for cultivating specific possibilities from the infinite field of what might be. Chapter 12, The Echo Builders. In the gravitational shadow of a massive black hole, the crew discovered a civilization that had learned to build with echo itself. The extreme gravitational time dilation near the event horizon created regions where time moved so slowly that cause and effect became visible as physical structures. The echo builders existed as living fractals, their consciousness distributed across multiple scales of space-time. They had learned to construct cities from the reverberations of past events, creating architecture that existed as crystallized echoes of historical moments. Their buildings are made from compressed time, Dr. Webb reported, his instruments detecting structures that existed as solid manifestations of temporal events. They've learned to give echo and memory physical form. The city of resonance stretched across multiple dimensional layers, with each building representing a specific historical moment frozen into architectural form. Streets paved with crystallized laughter connected buildings made from solidified music, while gardens of crystallized dreams bloomed with flowers of materialized hope. They're not just preserving history, Dr. Vasquez realized, studying how the beings interacted with their echo-based environment. They're living within it. Their entire civilization exists as a physical manifestation of their collective memory. The Echo Builders had discovered that in regions of extreme gravitational distortion, the normal boundaries between past and present became permeable. Moments from history would echo forward through time, creating temporal reverberations that could be captured and given solid form. They're architects of memory, Ella marveled, watching an Echo Builder construct a new dwelling from the crystallized echoes of childhood laughter. They build their world from the substance of experience itself. Communication with the Echo Builders involved learning to speak with the past. They expressed concepts by summoning echoes of previous conversations, building complex ideas from fragments of historical dialogue. Every exchange added new echo material to their civilization's architectural vocabulary. They're trying to show us that nothing is ever truly lost, Dr. Kim realized. Every word spoken, every thought expressed, every moment of consciousness creates echoes that reverberate through space-time forever. The most profound discovery was the Echo Builder's Great Archive, a vast structure built from the crystallized echoes of every significant moment in their species' history. By walking through its halls, visitors could experience their entire evolutionary journey, from their first stirrings of consciousness to their eventual mastery of time and memory. They're showing us that consciousness creates permanent structures in space-time, Ella realized as she touched a wall made from crystallized wonder, the actual echo of a child's first moment of self-awareness, preserved for eternity.